distributed in your packages. It says board.
I have a request on the November 27th meeting. The draft of it was just one sentence about what took place in about an hour and a half meeting. So I'd like to make a request that we attach all the newspaper articles involving that meeting to these minutes, in case anybody, like my grandchildren or something, one day want to come back and look at that meeting.
It really wasn't a meeting.
I beg your pardon, it was a public meeting.
The mayor called an unofficial meeting.
I know it was.
Well, somebody called one on my behalf, and I never objected. Let's put it that way, but I think it was an informational. It had the word informational.
That's about it, one way or the other.
Okay. There's a motion, Don?
Yeah, it's a motion, but I don't think it's a block.
Is there a second? All in favor of the motion? Don't have that second. So you're in favor of the motion? All opposed? Okay. Any other items on the dealing with the minute? The motion
I
to be
move
approved.
with passing.
There's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay. All right. Public session, time to come and briefly be heard for the board. It's not really a time for a lot of feedback back and forth, but certainly we want to hear from those who've come and signed up. Matt Bateman, 589 North Gibson Road, you're signed up first, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tell us what you're here for.
Thanks for the time. I appreciate it. I'm Matt Bateman. I am a native of Macon County, born and raised here. I'm a motivated and passionate individual for this community. I'd like to get that out there in the forefront. I've got 2 points that I'd like to discuss with you tonight. One being Vigil Franklin. I've been thoroughly involved in that movement. And I'd just like to share a couple things about that. We began in November 2011, and I'd like to share our vision statement with you guys. Vigil Franklin promotes positive and sustainable community advancement. As a citizen-maintained movement, we value inclusive participation, which is both action-based and outcome-focused. Vigil Franklin strives to collaboratively strengthen the regional economy, embrace our natural resources, establish common goals, drive innovation, and nurture entrepreneurial ventures with the ultimate goal of moving Franklin forward. Now, since the beginning, we've focused on several initiatives, and at the heart of those initiatives are our local economy. Bottom line, create awareness of shopping local, supporting our local businesses and neighbors. We've done that through a shop local awareness promotion, whether that be on Facebook page or just word of mouth, going to your neighbor and sharing a sale or sharing a promotion, or sharing a new business. We've done it also through cash mobs. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with cash mobs. It's a new movement, basically just to support local businesses again in the local economy. We've been partnered with Macon County News, highlighting locally owned businesses and local industry. It's called the Interlocal Series. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not. I'm sure you have. That partnership was unique because the highlighting of the business or the industry was done regardless of they're an advertiser or not. It was a nice move and a nice partnership on both of us to work on each other, to promote local businesses. And lastly, Street Fest Block Party. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Downtown. That was a 4-part series this season that we put together and really boosted the local economy. I think you'll find out if you ask any merchants in the downtown area. We have future plans. It's not just a downtown thing. Venture Local Franklin encompasses Franklin as a whole. We want to move around. We want to go to Highlands Road. We've already set preliminary talks with those folks over there to do something similar to Street Fest, not exactly like Street Fest. Those things are in the works, and again, at the heart and soul of it is positive growth of the local economy. There's no hidden agendas. There's no no other thing involved. And that's a major point that I wanted to get across. Venture Local Franklin has provided me multiple opportunities to promote Franklin in a positive light throughout the region, not only Franklin. I had the opportunity to speak at the North Carolina Entrepreneurship Summit put on by the NC Rural Economic Development Center in Asheville a couple months ago. Great exposure for Franklin, a great way to show them what we're doing and show them that we're really trying to be a leader in the region. I was the only representative west of Asheville at that summit, which comes as no surprise sometimes. But we were represented well. I'll let you guys know that. Also, I'll be at the Venture Local Conference this Friday. It's Advantage West Initiative, and that might sound familiar, Venture Local Franklin, Venture Local Conference. We kind of borrowed or piggybacked that name from them, with their permission, of course. But it's the same general idea of sharing fresh new ideas, putting new ideas on the table, and putting them into action, not just running them up with light bulbs. Second point, and it comes as one of the last things I mentioned, is Street Fest. At the November 27th meeting this past week, I was here. I didn't get a chance to speak, and shame on me.
You had to check.
Shame on me.
You just didn't take it.
Hey, there's a lot of talking going on that. I made sure I was involved in a lot of the planning steps for Street Fest. I know there's been a lot of issue with the banner. There's been some other issues with booths, etc. At the beginning of that planning stages, I took every step that I knew how to take, whether it be contacting Lynn Schlote for the different pieces of property to reserve, the gazebo, the clock tower, etc. Whether it be the banner going through our town planner, and the DOT was on the message. I was taking the steps that I thought were ideal to take, and how I perceived how that was brought up last week made it sound like we were cutting corners. We're trying to get things sneakily done, and that is not my intentions at all. Like I said, I tried to go through what steps I knew how to take, and at no point in time was I told that I needed to come before this board to get certain things done. Now I know that is the case now, and then going forward, we'll certainly take those steps. I just want to clear that up, and let you guys know that there's no ill will or intent to undermine anything. I just want to take the proper steps to do that. And the one thing that really was a concern of mine, particularly with the banner, the first 3 Street Fests, we had a series of 4. The first 3 went along fine. No one mentioned anything to us. And then it became October 2nd. I was notified that we could no longer do the banner, we could no longer close the street, we could no longer do the booths in the parking areas. And no other alternate solution was presented, other than obviously coming before this board. But at that point, that's the 26th. So that kind of handcuffed us there, and limited our resource for promotion. The banner, I'd like to say one more thing about the banner, and I know there's been discussion that this is going to come up again on behalf of you guys and deciding whether or not it's a good idea. I'd just like to say on behalf of myself and Vigil Local Franklin, I think it's a great idea, if it makes sense. And I'd like to see things approached that way. If it makes sense, let's do it, let's try it. If it's not going to hurt anything, let's do it. It had a huge impact on the attendance numbers in Street Fest. I know that for a fact. And I feel very passionate about that. It's some simple thing as a banner, but I know it's over a roadway. And there's things to consider there. But I hope that we can make things like that work. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you. Betsy Gooder?
My name is Betsy Gooder. business owner, publisher of the Macon County News for the past 30 years. We distribute 13,000 free newspapers weekly in Franklin, Highlands, Silva, Dillsboro, Dillard, and inclusively. We try to cover everything that happens in this community, and we are sustained only by our advertising dollar. Like all of Main Street in America, I rely on you to keep us in business, and you rely on us to keep you in business. We have a situation here in our town which has greatly disturbed me. My dad always said, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. But I feel I must come forward because I really feel that we have missed the crux of the matter at the forefront. I am referring to the rift between the town and the business community. Last week I called Linda Schloop to see if she wanted to run the same ad that she ran last year, which was a half page for Winter Wonderland in this year's paper, this next week. She replied no. Now this advertising is paid from the Franklin Main Street program, Town of Franklin, TDC, and Macon County TVA. This is money that is taxpayers' money. Taxpayers pay this money so that we can run these advertisements. I am here, I asked her to give me an idea of who the advertisers were going to be. She told me there was Fun in the Mountains, Gainesville Times, Smoky Mountain News, Mountain Laurel Magazine, Franklin Press, the radio, and I believe there are also some cards also that are distributed. I suggested that we run or split the ad that's in the Franklin Press, and that would be fair. She replied no, emphatically, that as long as you run derogatory information about me, I will not advertise in your paper. I was really taken back by this comment. These are not her dollars. Linda was referring to the first story that Brittany had written after the last board meeting in the Macon County News, where it was discussed about venture local. I know a reporter writes very factual articles, but this is not the point. The point is, Linda Schloop has let her personal feelings overshadow her job as a representative of the town, Franklin. After talking to my staff, they suggested that maybe I should get in touch with the representatives of the Streets Board, which are Joyce Hanley and Sissy Patilla, who I contacted and asked if they would come to my office and we could chat. I explained that what had occurred, and I wanted to mend the fences. Both Joyce and Sissy were not very cooperative, and they said that the town aldermen were mad at the Macon County News. And Sissy went so far as to say unkind things and hurtful things to Brittany. She said, "I don't like to see you sitting cross-legged out there and pulling on your hair." Well, I have to say, it just boggled me. I couldn't believe that Sissy said this. Let me tell you, Brittany Parker spent a year in a wheelchair, partially paralyzed, her senior year in high school. It causes her excruciating pain to let her legs hang from a chair in which she cannot reach the floor. So she crosses her legs. Sissy used unkind personal attack to unnerve Brittany, and she left the room crying. We concluded the meeting with me saying that I felt like I had no other choice but to come before you as a board. To add more fuel to the fire, I want you all to know that last summer, after the Folk Fest, I was seated on a bench in front of the gazebo when Linda Schlote approached me. I thought she was going to be jolly and say, gee, what a good job you have done with promoting Venture Local. But instead, she was very aggressive and was yelling at me and saying I needed to give less press time to Venture Local, etc. I was so abashed that I just got up and walked away from her. Now, there were some people standing there that were going to perform that night, that were from out of town, that were square dancers. And they stopped me, and they said, who was that person? And I told them who she was, and they said, well, we're going to write a letter to the town about her, because they couldn't believe the way that she acted. This is not the way I expect to be treated by anybody, anywhere, much less a town employee. I feel very strongly that you aldermen should look at this situation and reconsider how the town and also the Main Street programs are represented. And I leave you with this. The town and the business owners don't have a communication problem. They just have the wrong kind of communication. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Brittany Parker.
I wanted to come speak tonight to clear up a few things that have been bothering, that I was informed have been bothering the board, or at least Ms. Patillo. First, Ms. Patillo did call me and apologize this afternoon. She did, and I really do appreciate that. During a meeting in her office last week, Ms. Patillo brought to my attention that my actions during the board meetings offended her, and she found it to be rude and disrespectful. Ms. Patillo said that it offended her that I sit in the meetings, sometimes with my legs crossed in the chair, and that I play with my hair. While those may sound like really silly things to be bothered by, or even a silly reason for me to be upset, I want to explain them a little bit more. First, let me say that I'm not apologizing for these things. When I was 16 years old, I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. As part of my disability, I have several compulsions or tics that I have no control over. I take medication for it, and I've been in therapy for nearly 10 years. Playing with my hair, as silly as it sounds, is a compulsion. Trust me, it drives me insane. I don't want to do it, and I hate that I do it. I would give anything in the world to just be able to not do it, but I can't. When I was 19 years old, I had a professor in college who embarrassed me in class because it bothered her so bad she called me out on it. And as a result, I cut my hair off to about my chin and to prevent me from being able to touch it. It wasn't until after college, not after I graduated college 2 years ago, that I started to grow it out again. I never in a million years felt the same ridicule and bullying that I was succumbed to as a teenager because of my disability would carry over into my adult life, and up until this point, it hasn't. The second thing that Ms. Tillis says bothers her about my actions during the meetings is that I sit cross-legged in a chair. Well, first, I'm not sure if any of you have had to sit in these chairs for an extended period of time, but sometimes I sit there for meetings that last anywhere between an hour and 3 and sit there sitting straight up and proper. But that's beside the point. Another thing that you may not know about me is that when I was 17 years old, I ruptured the nerves attached to the spinal cord during a track meet, and I became paralyzed from the waist down. I lost all mobility and feelings in my legs. I spent several months in Nashville, and after extensive shock therapy treatment and realignment of my spinal cord, I gained the feeling back in my legs. And with months of physical therapy and being confined to a wheelchair, I was able to walk again. The injury caused the nerves in my back to die, and they are useless without constant stimulation. Without wearing a device that constantly sends electric shock to my lower back, I'm constantly at risk of re-injuring my back and repeating the process. My spinal cord is horizontally attached, but it's not vertically attached, and the lack of stability causes it to slide out of place often. I'm not supposed to sit, stand, or walk for extended periods of time. So sitting in that chair for upwards of 3 hours can prove to be very trying. The fact that I'm 5 foot tall, 5'2", and my feet can barely touch the ground, pulls on my back and causes severe pain and causes a numbness and loss of feelings in my legs. So yes, I do cross my legs because it helps subsidize the pain. I have the utmost respect for each of you as individuals and as leaders of this town. I do not want any of you to think that for a moment that I'm being disrespectful while I'm sitting here during the meetings. I think the fact that while I may look like I'm being inactive, inattentive, and rude, I listen to every single word that gets said. And I do not think that any of you could say that I have ever misquoted you or inaccurately reported on anything the town has ever done. I've been covering these meetings for over a year and a half. In that time, if any of you have had a problem with me, Ms. Patillo with my behaviors during the meetings, or Ms. Hanley with the report, with the way that I report, I'm at the office 5 days a week, from 9 a.m. sometimes until 9 at night, and on the weekends I'm usually covering some event in this county. I would have been happy to listen and do whatever I could to fix things, but instead, as elected officials, you chose to harbor your frustration or gossip about me behind my back. That is no way to treat another individual. I hope that I have not offended any of you because of my disability, and if so, I hope this allows you to better understand me.
Larry, if you got you still want. Opportunities to be heard.
Yes, sir. I have several things. My motion to put some additional information into the minutes of the November, November the 27th meeting was voted down. I'd like to remind you of a question that's asked in the Attorney General's official meetings. And it says, yes, every public body is required to keep full, accurate minutes of all portions of official meetings, including closed sessions. All right, the meeting that we had an agenda, it was advertised, the majority of the board was present, and although no action was taken, I consider that to have been an official meeting. Now, does anybody want to
Did not suggest that we advertised that there would be no action taken.
We did. It was still an official meeting because we had a majority of the board here. Okay, no agenda. But I think the law also says that we can't meet with a majority of the members of this board unless, without it being an official meeting. Okay.
No, let's move on then.
No, wait a minute.
I'm not moving on yet.
Okay.
Here's what I'm gonna say, Bob. Let's say it was an official meeting. Okay. Are you saying that we should substitute for minutes that were not taken the newspaper article?
No. All I'm saying is there should be a full, at least who spoke, and the fact that really there was nothing done or anything like that. I just felt like one sentence did not adequately say what we met about.
I understand what you're saying.
Now, are we off that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little concerned if what I heard tonight is true. That we had an attempt to manage the news by withholding advertising. When that starts happening, or when this board starts deciding what's news, that's propaganda. Pure and simple. And we're a public body, and I'm very concerned about an attempt that may have been made to manage the news by withholding advertising. If we advertise in one newspaper, I think it's only fair if we advertise in both newspapers. Withholding advertising is completely illegal. We want to do it. But I have a question as to whether it's ethical or it's a moral thing for this public body or subdivision of this town to do. And I'm very concerned about it. And this may have completely been accidental. And I'm not condemning anybody. But I just cannot abide by any minor attempt to manage the news through something like withholding advertising by a subdivision of this town. That's my concern.
You got other comments? Open house?
Before you adjourn, I just have a transition report I want to present to the board. No action taken, doesn't need to be put on the agenda. This regards, of course, the manager's transition report. Warren and I will be reading these on a monthly basis to the board.
We gonna discuss this?
So this will mean Warren will be up here this month, be up here immediately.
Part of the time.
Oh, yeah, it has to be. What's the board's thoughts at this point?
I would just caution you that if you opt straight into personnel qualifications, issues of appointment, all of the stuff that's more or less required to be closed session. If you're gonna have a blood and guts discussion about it, it's gonna have to be closed session.
It's almost required, but it says may, does it not?
There's a motion on the table.
I think I'll second Billy's motion. And see if there's a 5-1 vote.
There's a motion, second, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I hate to be the one wolf all the time.